Hi, I'm Lars from All About Samsung with another video of the brand new Galaxy S8 and Galaxy S8 Plus. Today we're gonna have a comparison between the Galaxy S8, S8 Plus and the flagship of 2016, the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. Actually, when I would compare the Galaxy S8 with the last year's flagship, I would need the normal Galaxy S7. Even though the normal Galaxy S7 was the last flagship made by Samsung with a normal flat display, and it was with 5.1 inch, quite small, so this wouldn't be fair. So I'm just gonna compare the Galaxy S7 Edge to the Galaxy S8 in both versions, and yeah, let's see which smartphone I prefer. The first thing we're going to compare is actually the size and the design of the three devices. While the Galaxy S7 Edge is 150.9mm long, the Samsung Galaxy S8 is 148.9mm long, so it's 2mm smaller than the Galaxy S7 Edge. And the Galaxy S8 finally is 159.5mm long, so it's about almost a centimeter longer than the Galaxy S7 Edge. The smaller side of the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge measures 72.6mm, while the Samsung Galaxy S8 measures 68.1mm, so it's almost 4mm thinner than the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. And the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus measures 73.4mm, so it's almost as wide as the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. In terms of thickness, actually, the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge is the winner, as it measures 7.7mm, and because of the just small rounded backside and the edge on the front, the frame looks actually pretty thin. The Samsung Galaxy S8 in comparison measures about 8mm, so it's a bit thicker, 0.3mm to be specific, even though because of the more rounded backside, I would say it looks a bit thicker actually than the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. And the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus measures 8.1mm, so it's a bit thicker than the Galaxy S8 and a bit thicker than the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge, even though as it's a taller device, I would say it don't look that actually thick. So these are the dimension comparisons of the three devices, and now we're gonna have a closer look on actually the design. Looking on the design, the first thing you're going to notice is actually that there is something missing on the Galaxy S8 and Galaxy S8 Plus, as the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge had a home button on the front below the display, and this one is missing on the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus, so you don't have a physical home button. But actually there is a home button under the display surface, so it's just a virtual home button. There is a special place on the display where it measures your pressure, so there is a press for a home button, even though you don't have a physical home button on the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus. And you have a big difference in terms of display, because now the Samsung Galaxy S8 and Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus comes with an aspect ratio of 18.5:9. So it's a much longer display than the Samsung Galaxy S7 had with its 16:9 aspect ratio. And there's another design difference on the front, because on the Galaxy S7 Edge you actually had the Samsung brand on top of the display. On the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus you don't have any branding on the front, which is actually kind of, surprising, because I would expected Samsung to bring its logo on the front again. No, there is no logo, and it looks, I would say, way better than the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. Sorry to say that, I really do like this Galaxy S7 Edge. When you turn the devices, you're gonna see another difference, because just a comparison of the Galaxy S7 Edge and the Galaxy S8. When you compare the both frames, you're going to notice that on the Galaxy S7 Edge you had a bit of a matte or dull frame, so the metal on the frame wasn't as glossy as it's now on the Galaxy S8 Plus or on the Galaxy S8. At least on the black version, I would prefer actually a matte or a dull version of the frame, because now this glossy black, well, it's not my personal favorite. I would like to have it a matte version. Well, this might be just a personal thing. I would like it to have it matte. And yeah, the frame actually has another thing to notice, because on the Galaxy S7 Edge you actually had a frame which was more on the lower part of the frame. So the edge on the front was a bit more and the edge of the back was just a bit less rounded. So the frame wasn't in the complete middle of the side. On the Galaxy S8 and Galaxy S8 Plus, you now have something Samsung called on the Galaxy Note 7 a symmetrical beauty. So now the rounded shape of the front and of the back glass is actually almost the same. So the frame is in the middle of the side, so it's symmetrical. And this is, in terms of design, not a big difference. But when you feel the devices in your hand, the Galaxy S8 feels just perfect in your hand, while the Galaxy S7 Edge has a bit of a more edged form and more edged ergonomic in your hand. So I would prefer actually the Galaxy S8 in my hands. For the rest of the frame there is not a big difference. So on the right side you have the power button, on the bottom you have actually the speaker, which now has a different design. In the middle you have the USB Type-C on the Galaxy S8, while you had a micro USB on the Galaxy S7 Edge, and you have the 3.5mm jack on all three devices. On the top part you actually had the SIM card tray, and on the left side you had the volume keys, and there is a difference, because on the Galaxy S7 Edge you had two dedicated keys for the volume up and volume down. On the Galaxy S8 you now have one key for volume up and volume down, and another special key, which is actually the Bixby button. In Germany there is not yet such a big functionality for the Bixby button, so I'm not sure if that's such a smart idea. At the moment it's not possible to actually put other options like Google Assistant or something on the Bixby button. I'm looking forward for the future to see other functions for the Bixby button instead. So now we are going to compare the backsides of the devices. The first thing you're going to notice here is that they almost look quite similar. I'm going to compare the Galaxy S8 to the Galaxy S7 Edge first, because on the backside you see it's almost identical, so it's not a big jump in terms of design. Even though Samsung moved the LED and the heart rate sensor from the right side of the camera to the left side of the camera on the Galaxy S8, and now the fingerprint scanner found on the Galaxy S7 Edge front is now moved to the back of the Galaxy S8 right next to the camera. And I have to say that the placement of the fingerprint scanner is actually not perfect, because on the Galaxy S7 Edge it was quite easy to actually just lay down your thumb on the fingerprint scanner to unlock the device. On the Galaxy S8 now, the fingerprint scanner is almost on the same level as the camera, so it's quite hard actually to find the fingerprint scanner on the back. So when you're trying to unlock the device, you're first touching the camera maybe, and then you're trying to find actually the fingerprint scanner, then you're not totally 100% on the fingerprint scanner and you're not unlocking the device that fast. This is, I would say, the major design flaw on the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus. Even though the camera is almost on the same level as the back and the fingerprint scanner is just a bit lower than the back glass, I would say in terms of design, when you just look straight onto the device, it looks good. But just in terms of ergonomics, when you're trying to unlock the phone by your fingerprint, then it's not perfectly placed. Below the camera you have on all three devices the Samsung logo. There's one thing to add, because now the backside of the Galaxy S8 is made out of Gorilla Glass 5, so it's a bit more scratch and tension resistant, so when the phone drops it won't actually shatter that fast as it was the case on the Galaxy S7 Edge. So this was a design comparison of the three devices, and now let's have a closer look to the software and the hardware. First we have to talk about the display another time, because now the display on the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus actually has a resolution of 2960 to 1440 pixel, which is quite a high density of pixel. On the Galaxy S8 it's 529 ppi and on the Galaxy S8 it's 570 ppi. On the Galaxy S7 Edge you actually had 2560 to 1440 pixel, which is a lower pixel count, and the density of the pixels still was 534. Actually, the most important thing to notice is that because of the new aspect ratio, the display on the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus looks in the first moment a bit odd, because it's more it's longer than the display of the Galaxy S7 Edge, but when you're using it for the first time, I would prefer actually the Galaxy S8 instantly, because the Galaxy S8 feels perfectly in your hand and it's perfect in terms of one-hand usage, while the Galaxy S7 Edge was a bit wider, so it wasn't that actually easy to touch the very left side of the device with one hand. In terms of hardware, I just can't show you everything because ZPU-Z, as an example, is not yet updated, so it won't show you the SoC of the devices correctly. So I'm just going into ZPU-Z with the second screen to show you the rest of the internal stuff. And on the Galaxy S8, you see here, you actually have now a screen resolution of 1440 to 2560, which is just because the app itself has no 18.5 to 9 option. The full resolution of the screen is actually, yeah, of course, 2960 to 1440, so don't be afraid of this. The rest of the device actually is quite similar. So on both devices you have actually 4 GB of memory. Even though it seems like the Galaxy S8 comes with 4 GB of LPDDR4X, while the Galaxy S7 Edge had 4 GB of LPDDR4. So with this might be a new generation of memory. And on the Galaxy S8 you now have 64 GB of internal storage, while the Galaxy S7 Edge had 32 GB of internal storage. On both devices you can actually apply a microSD card to expand the storage, so it's not a big deal actually. Here you have the same run count of the pixel, because with the Nougat update actually the screen count was reduced to full HD, even though you can actually max it out in the settings to the full resolution by clicking on the display and going to the screen resolution. And this is the same on the Galaxy S8. So here you have by default normally the screen resolution of Full HD+, but you can just opt for WQHD+, while the Galaxy S7 Edge had a WQHD display. There is one thing actually to talk about as well, because on the size of the smartphones, when you compare it right next to each other, you see that the Galaxy S8 is a bit smaller, and this is the same for the battery. While the Galaxy S7 Edge had a 3600 mAh battery, the Galaxy S8 comes now with a 3000 mAh battery, while the Galaxy S8 Plus comes with a 3500 mAh battery. So the battery is actually weaker than the battery of the Galaxy S7 Edge. Actually, though, this is not a big deal, because, and now we are going to talk about the SoC, on the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus you now have an Exynos 8895, which is a new designed SoC clocked with two different cores. Actually you have one core with a new designed Samsung CPU and a normal, I think it's an ARM72 or something, we don't know yet, CPU, which is more energy efficient. And the whole SoC on the Galaxy S8 is actually produced with 10 nanometer, while the SoC on the Galaxy S7 Edge is a 14 nanometer SoC, and Samsung is talking about 20% more efficiency on the Galaxy S8 in comparison to the last generation of the Exynos SoC. And you now have a GPU, so graphics unit, which is called the Mali G71MP20, which delivers 21% more graphic performance in comparison to the Galaxy S7 Edge GPU. And the CPU delivers 10% more performance than the CPU on the Galaxy S7 Edge. So especially because of the 10 nanometer, you now have a more efficient SoC on the Galaxy S8. So actually, when you compare the battery results Samsung delivers for the Galaxy S8 to the results of the Galaxy S7 Edge, you're gonna see that there is no big difference in between the Galaxy S8 and Galaxy S7 Edge. The next thing we are going to talk about is the software of the devices. So when you're going to the Galaxy S7 Edge, you're going to see that there is Android 7.0 on the device, at least if you received the last update. On the Galaxy S8, you now have Android 7.0 on the device. But there are some differences, because when you're now looking at the home screen looks totally different, as Samsung is now using what they call the Samsung Experience 8.1, which is a new launcher for the Galaxy S8. Actually, there are actually some apps on XDR developers or so, which bring you the new Samsung launcher of the Galaxy S8 to the Galaxy S7 Edge and the new Bixby and whatever, even though it's not working perfectly and flawless, so I'm not recommending it right now. So we are now comparing the software of the Galaxy S8 to the software of the S7 Edge. And yeah, it's quite similar, as the software of the S7 Edge almost looks similar to the Grace UI introduced with the Galaxy Note 7. So when you're dropping down the notification bar, you see a white notification bar with a lot of options. And when you're just dropping it down a bit, you're just gonna see a small notification bar. You actually have the option to bring up the brightness level to the very top of the notification bar and stuff like this. So yeah, you have a lot of options over here. And when you're going to the settings, you see they're bright, they're white, and they're cleaned up a bit. So I prefer this over the last software version of the Galaxy S7 Edge. On the Galaxy S8, you now have almost the same interface. So the notification bar actually looks quite similar. And when you're dropping it down, it looks quite similar again. So there are not big differences. You have the blue file filter, you have a secret folder, so you have stuff like this on board. But there's a big difference on the home screen actually, because here you have a special button for the app drawer. On the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus, you don't have an app drawer button. So here you have to just swipe over the screen to get into the app drawer. This is quite nice because the animation is flawless. It's very smooth. I really do like it. Even though if you want to have actually an icon for the app drawer, you have to go to the home screen settings and then you can choose actually an apps button over here. So you have a special apps button and you have to apply this, and then when you're going back to the home screen, you now have the same icon as found on the Galaxy S8, more or less. The same icon as found on the Galaxy S7 Edge, more or less. So you can open the app drawer by just going through this special icon. Even though I prefer just doing the swipe option, so I'm going back to the apps button and just going to hide the apps button, and then you're going to see we just doing this with the little animation over here. The rest of the software, I have to say, there is a special thing called Bixby. Bixby is new artificial intelligence stuff found on the Galaxy S8, and this has a dedicated button on the very left. So when you're pressing the Bixby button, you're actually coming straight into Bixby. So when you're pressing it once, you're straight into Bixby. For Germany, actually, the Bixby has no voice recognition yet, so there are only 3 languages available, which is English, Chinese, and Korean. And on the Galaxy S7 Edge, when you're swiping to the left, you normally have Update, which at least in Europe and in Germany, which is kind of a newsreader, quite similar to maybe Flipboard or something. And on the Galaxy S8 you now have Bixby. Even though Bixby is not bad at all, I really do like it, but for Germany it's not working that good. You have like cards for the weather, you have Twitter notifications, and you have the voice recognition, you have stuff in special pictures or in the camera or so it recognizes stuff by context. So this is a really huge step in terms of usability of the voice and of the actually artificial intelligence stuff. Even though we're going to do a review just about Bixby later, so I won't talk about that right now that much. Bixby is a huge step, and this right now is not found on the Galaxy S7 Edge. Even though on XDA developers you have an option to bring Bixby to the Galaxy S7 Edge, but without the Bixby button, right now it crashes quite often. So this was a comparison of the software. You have smaller interface things which changed, and now especially the icons are looking different, and you on the Galaxy S8 you have on-screen buttons, while you on the Galaxy S7 Edge had the hardware buttons on the very bottom of the below the display. And yeah, personally I would say it's a huge step actually in terms of software, because on the Galaxy S8 it feels more natural. And there is another thing to talk about, the camera. On the Galaxy S7 Edge you actually had a camera with an aperture of 1.7, 12 megapixel and 4K video. And on the Galaxy S8 you now have the same data. So you still have an aperture of 1.7, you still have 12 megapixel, and you still have 4K video recording. Even though Samsung changed the camera, the sensor is now different. Actually, it seems to be a Sony IMX333 sensor, which delivers more vivid and, at least in terms of white balanced, more natural pictures. And there is now a new mode in the camera, because now for most pictures Samsung is doing 3 pictures at once, and they're using them to sharpen just one picture. So you're just going to see one picture while taking a picture, but the picture itself is more sharp. I think the difference is not that big actually, even though they improved the camera and the camera interface. So when you're going straight into the camera, you are actually going in the camera by pressing the power button twice on the Galaxy S8, while you were going in the camera on the Galaxy S7 Edge by pressing the home button twice. And now you're in the camera mode, and you can see actually that Samsung switched the camera interface a bit. So when you're going to the left on the Galaxy S7 Edge, the interface was a bit higher than it is on the Galaxy S8 right now. So here the whole interface is more at the bottom of the device, so it's more comfortable to actually use by just one hand. When you wonder about the camera resolution, I switched on the Galaxy S8 now to a resolution of just about 8 megapixel, as when you're choosing 7.9 megapixel you now have the 18.5:9 aspect ratio for the pictures. Normally you have 12 megapixel, and this looks kind of odd in the normal camera interface on the Galaxy S8, while it's more or less normal on the Galaxy S7 Edge. So there's just one thing to talk about now, because on the Galaxy S7 Edge, for the security option, you just had the fingerprint scanner and the home button. On the Galaxy S8, you now have the option for iris scanning in the security settings. So you're going to the security, and then you have actually an iris scanner on the top of the device. Here is the iris scanner, which is a 3.7 megapixel camera, and on the very left you have an infrared LED. So you first need to set a pattern, which is always the same on our testing devices, and then you have to look straight into the device in a distance from 25 to 35 centimeter, and you're looking straight into the camera for about, you see it for maybe a minute or so, for maybe some seconds, and then you get some tips for using the iris scanner, and you even can do a face unlock for the Galaxy S8. So when you're going back, you have face recognition, even though this actually seems to be not that secure, as you can use a printed picture of my face to actually unlock the phone. So I would prefer the fingerprint scanner and the iris scanner. You can actually use them at the same time, and this is actually quite good. So now my iris is registered, and now when I'm just going to unlock the phone and looking straight into the iris, I have to swipe once, and then it's instantly actually, you see, unlocked. So it's quite fast. This was not the fastest yet, so it can be even faster. So this was our comparison of the Galaxy S8, S8 Plus and the Galaxy S7 Edge. For me personally, I really did like the Galaxy S7 Edge, and the Galaxy S8 now has just one big flaw, because now my Galaxy S7 Edge looks a bit old and old-fashioned. Sorry to say that actually. I really do like the Edge display, but on the Galaxy S8 you now have the symmetrical beauty, so the edge on the back is in the same shape like the edge on the front, and this fits so perfectly in your hand. So now I'm probably going to switch to the Galaxy S8, even though I'm not sure to which version of the Galaxy S8 I'm going to switch, because the Galaxy S8 lays perfectly in your hand. It's, in terms of ergonomic, I would say close to be perfect, but the Galaxy S8 Plus has a bit more of display estate, so it's a bit more display, it's better for typing or maybe for playing. So I just need some more days to decide which smartphone I'm going to choose. I hope you like the comparison of the S8, S8 Plus and the Galaxy S7 Edge. If you have any questions regarding the three devices or the both devices, just let me know below in the comments. We're going to continue to make more videos about the Galaxy S8, so be sure to follow us here on YouTube. I'm Lars from All About Samsung. See you next time. Bye.